They say your home is your castle, but what happens when the neighborhood HOA decides your castle's land would look better as a shiny new shopping mall? Sounds like something out of a bad movie, right? Well, buckle up because this was my life and the story of how the Willow Grove HOA, led by the unstoppable Deborah Walsh, tried to steal my family's legacy only to hand me $1 billion empire, is one you won't believe. If you've ever tangled with an HOA, you want to hear how Deborah's gavel ended up swapped for prison bars. My name's Ethan Caldwell, and my family's owned a 100-acre slice of heaven called Silverbrook Meadow for generations. Picture rolling hills, ancient maples, and a lazy creek that gave the place its name. It wasn't just dirt, it was our history, a quiet refuge next to the growing sprawl of Willow Grove, a cookie-cutter suburb with an HOA obsessed with rules and uniformity. For years, the boundary was clear, marked by a stone wall my great-grandfather laid by hand. The HOA's nonsense stayed on their side, and I liked it that way. Then Deborah Walsh stormed in. She insisted on being called President Walsh in every email, letter, and HOA meeting. She was ambition wrapped in a power suit, with lipstick that screamed, "I'm in charge," a little too loudly. Deborah was the kind of person who'd argue over the shade of your mailbox, and somehow make it personal. When she took over, the HOA's newsletters passed to me by a neighbor with an eye roll started hinting at community growth projects that crept suspiciously close to my land. The first fight was over a patch of wildflowers on my side of the wall. Deborah sent a letter, dripping with fake legalese, calling them unregulated weeds that hurt Willow Grove's aesthetic value. She demanded I rip them out or face fines. I fired back, politely but firmly, saying my land was my business. Her response? She sent landscapers to cross the wall. I was there, fixing a stone, when my 2 German shepherds, Max and Luna, made it clear trespassers weren't welcome. Deborah showed up later, red-faced and screeching about obstructing progress. I just stared at her, this primped-up woman looking ridiculous against the wild backdrop of Silverbrook, and told her my idea of progress didn't include her opinions. That kicked off years of petty battles. Notes about my grass being too long near the boundary. Complaints about maple leaves littering their pristine lawns. Even a claim that my creek was a community resource they deserved access to. Each time, I called my lawyer, sent sharp replies, and brushed up on my property rights. Deborah hated that. She thought shouting louder would bend reality to her will. My neighbor whispered that Deborah called Silverbrook the undeveloped eyesore in meetings, or worse, the future community plaza. She had big plans, and my land was her canvas. I thought the wall and my deeds were enough. I was wrong. A research project took me overseas for months, vying Silverbrook in the hands of a property manager, Tom. I figured Deborah's antics would be the usual noise-nothing Tom couldn't handle. But while I was gone, she didn't just push boundaries, she obliterated them. Tom's email hit like a punch. Significant development active VY tie on the northern edge of my land. Attached were blurry drone photos of cleared acres, bulldozers, and concrete foundations. This wasn't a landscaping project, it was a full-blown invasion. I booked the next flight home, dread gnawing at me. Stepping on a Silverbrook was like entering a nightmare. The dirt path to the north was now a gravel construction road. The air, once pine-scented, reeked of diesel. Where my woods once stood, a massive construction site sprawled, cranes clawing the sky, steel beams rising like a commercial beast. I drove my truck as close as I could, heart pounding, and just stared. A foreman in a neon vest swaggered over. "Restricted area, buddy. Got our permits for the Willow Grove Plaza." I could barely speak. "This is my land. What the hell are you doing?" He shrugged, annoyed, and told me to take it up with head office. Head office? The Willow Grove HOA and a shady new outfit called Grove Ventures Incorporated, with Deborah Walsh at the helm. Tom was apologetic, saying Deborah had assured him some survey markers were for drainage work on their side. He hadn't checked the far acreage, assuming all was fine. I stormed to the HOA's plush office, where Deborah sat behind a desk like a queen. Her smug smile made my blood boil. "Mr. Caldwell, lovely to see you back," she cooed, as if I'd caught her borrowing a cup of sugar. I laid into her about the illegal construction. She leaned back, fingers steepled, and said, "There's a misunderstanding about your land's boundaries. Grove Ventures did their due diligence, and that plot's ownership is ambiguous." Ambiguous? I had deeds going back a century. She waved me off, offering modest compensation once the plaza was done, as if I were the unreasonable one. Cease and desist letters from my lawyer were ignored. Grove Ventures' high-powered attorneys told us to get lost. The county planning office was worse. Evasive officials claimed all permits were valid, zoning approved. Something stank, like deals had been made behind closed doors. Every day, the construction roared on, a middle finger to my rights. I'd stand at the edge, watching them build their greed-fueled monument, fury hardening into resolve. They thought they could take it. They had no idea who they were messing with. My old lawyer was out of his depth. This was grand theft, corporate style. I needed a heavyweight. After dead-end meetings with settlement-hungry firms, I found Leonard Grayson, a semi-retired legal legend who only took cases that fired him up. My story did. In his cluttered office, he listened, eyes sharp, then grinned. "Ethan, they've built you a golden ticket. We just need to know how to cash it." His plan was wild. Let them finish the plaza. The more they invested, the bigger our prize. Stop them now, and they'd wiggle out. Let them build, and we'd own it all: land, buildings, everything. It was a gut-wrenching gamble, watching that plaza rise on my soil, knowing they thought they'd won. But Leonard's confidence kept me sane. His team dug into county records, tax offices, anything tied to the project. My deeds were bulletproof, surveys precise. What we found was a web of shady zoning changes, rubber-stamped permits, and a forged signature on a key approval. Grove Ventures was a shell tied to a big developer, with Deborah as their community liaison signing shady deals. HOA minutes showed her bragging about acquiring my land before any legal process started. She'd promised her partners a slam dunk, and her arrogance was our weapon. The costs were brutal: Leonard's fees, investigators, my diverted SAVY, NGS. Doubt crept in as I watched the plaza's glass walls gleam, a daily insult. My neighbor kept me grounded, slipping me updates on Deborah's ego trip. She commissioned a portrait of herself in front of the plaza, hung in the HOA office like she was royalty. That image fueled me. Leonard's team found whispers of bribes to county officials and campaign donations linked to the developers. The noose was tightening. The Willow Grove Plaza grew: fast retail wings, parking garages, fake plazas erasing Silverbrook's contours. They raced for a holiday opening, crews working nights under floodlights. Deborah was everywhere, photographed in a hard hat, calling it my legacy. She even planned a founder's suite for herself. Her hubris was blinding. Meanwhile, Leonard zeroed in. A forged county form, faked environmental data ignoring my wetlands, and Deborah's emails promising to handle regulators for a cut of the profits. It was a jackpot of fraud. Their lawyers fought dirty, burying us in motions, but Leonard was relentless. Letting them build gave us leverage. $1 billion asset on my land, built on lies they couldn't deny. As the plaza neared completion, signs up, stores MOVYing, and we readied our strike. The grand opening was a media circus with Deborah in a gaudy emerald suit, practically glowing. My neighbor texted, "She's got a tiara, Ethan. It's a zoo." I smirked. She had no clue. At 9 a.m., as VIPs sipped mimosas, processed servers hit. One reached Deborah mid-TV in her VYEW, her smile cracking as she read our lawsuit. Proof of my ownership, fraudulent permits, forged signatures, and a court order halting everything. The plaza became a ghost town. Stores shuttered, guests fled. Deborah's panic was VY said, her suit clashing with her ashen face. The developers scrambled, but Leonard crushed their countersuits. The financial weight was ours, $1 billion mall they didn't own. They tried lowball buyouts. Leonard sent back valuations of the finished plaza. Their choice: dismantle it and pay damages, or sell me the structures cheap, then watch me flip it. A global real estate group, untainted by the mess, offered over $1 billion for the land and plaza. In a slick deal, the developers sold me the buildings for pennies. I sold the package, and they ate the loss, plus my legal fees and damages. After Leonard's cut, I was a billionaire. The HOA, tied to the deal, went bankrupt. Deborah's portrait was trashed by furious members. She faced lawsuits from investors, her depositions a train wreck of lies crumbling under Leonard's cross-examination. The DA's probe, fueled by our EVY Denke of forgery and bribery, nailed her. Indicted for fraud and conspiracy, she was conned VY Ted fast. I watched her in court, that emerald suit mocking her as she broke, sentenced to years behind bars. I restored what was left of Silverbrook, turning it into a nature preserve. I started foundations to protect heritage lands and help folks fight corporate greed. Now I live by the ocean, Max and Luna running free, no HOAs in sight. DRIVY-ing by the plaza, now Thrive-ing under new owners, feels strange. A monument to their greed became my freedom. So what do you think? Was I wrong to let them build, knowing I'd take it all? Should Deborah have gotten a lighter sentence for being a pawn of bigger players? Could you fight an HOA like that, or would you walk away? Drop your thoughts below, hit that like button, and subscribe for more wild stories. Let's stir up some debate.